Hello and welcome back to Vlada's Place. Today happens to be 4th of July, and I'm thinking if our country would have a birthday cake, the cake would actually be more an apple pie. So with that in mind, kids and I are off to Orchard to pick some fresh apples, and I am going to show you how to make truly simple, easy, and delicious apple pie. So let's celebrate our country's birthday together with this easy and delicious recipe. So let's start by cutting apples. Normally I would peel the apples, but since these apples are so fresh and organic, I'm going to keep the skin on them. I'm not even washing them. So I'm just gonna core them, and as you see, the way I core my apples is I'm trying to save as much as of fruit itself. And so I just cut it like this, get the middle part out. And as you see, the rest of the stuff is going to my chicken, so nothing's wasted. Next is 1/4 cup of olive oil, or you can also use regular oil or butter. Then 3/4 cup of sugar. Brown sugar will work the best, but I have a raw sugar instead here. Tablespoon of vanilla, and about a teaspoon of cinnamon, or per your taste. We're going to bring all this to fire, and we're going to cook it only for about 5 to 7 minutes, or actually depending on the apples that you use. These apples happen to be fresh, and they're, by its nature, they're soft kind of apples, so I don't want to overcook them. Basically just enough to melt the sugar and for apples to loosen up their juices. Next is a heaping spoon of flour. This is regular flour, and then I'm going to turn off the fire, and I'm gonna gently fold flour into the apples. We'll set apples aside for a little bit and let all the juices and flour and flavors to set, and we're moving or making topping. For that, we're gonna need 1 stick of cold butter. Slice it up like this. Next is a cup of flour. In addition to that, I'm also adding 3/4 cup of walnuts. This is optional, so if you're allergic to nuts, you can avoid it. Touch more of cinnamon, and about 1/4 cup of sugar. Work the flour into butter using your hands, and at some point you also might want to add a little bit more of vanilla to this mixture, and maybe another tablespoon of, or maybe a tablespoon and a half of flour, so that you can start making this crumbly texture for the topping. Basically, this is what the topping should look like once you're done. So you want to have these pieces of nuts, butter, flour, sugar, and cinnamon ready for the topping. Okay, so this is done. Now let's bring the pie crust. And in this case, I'm using store-bought pie crust. This makes my baking so much faster and so much quicker. So this is why this apple pie recipe is easy to make, and it's so quick. While filling the crust, keep in mind you want to arrange your apples in a way so they don't leak or overflow when the pie is baking. Okay, here is the fun part. We're just gonna top the apples with this mixture, and try to put as much as on top, and then you work your way around. Make sure that these buttery crumbs are evenly distributed all around the pie. It'll be a good pie. Bake it on 350 for about 40 to 45 minutes. Having warm apple pie is the best, but if you're trying to have a nice cut, and once you serve your apple pie, I would suggest letting it rest for at least 2 hours before you cut into it. We are also baking homemade sourdough bread. For those of you who would like to learn how to do this, we just recently did a series of videos on how to care for sourdough starter and how to make sourdough bread, so we'll be glad to show you how. I hope you like this recipe, and I hope you'll give it a try. And when you do, don't forget to share it with people in your life. Oh, and don't forget a little bit of ice cream and a touch of caramel. Delicious, crunchy topping over nice and juicy filling. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Vlada Vladik, and I'm a founder of a charitable organization called Vlada Seeds of Life, whose mission is to help reconnect American families and communities. We'll see you soon again. Till then, happy birthday, America.